All right. So, good morning, everybody. We're on the cross of explanation. I was out for a while. Sorry about that. But we keep going now on the writing of cross of explanation with the 1-3 profile. The 1-3 cross says, I know what goes wrong. So maybe if I come up with a formula, I can make a living telling people how to avoid what goes wrong. You have a whole industry on this planet of people who will tell you what not to do in your relationships. Have you ever picked up one of these women magazines? Go to a magazine stand and just read titles: How Not to Lose Your Lover, 10 Ways of How Not to Lose Your Lover. This is all about the fourth gate. This is the fourth gate job. Let me Don't pick your nose at dinner. Keep your mouth closed while you're eating. And try not to fart in an intimate moment. All of these things. The whole thing about the four is that the four is coming up with all of these theories, all of these formulas about how to make a better relationships and so forth on. Now, one thing about the 4-1 is that the 4-1 comes into the world and says, all right, I have a mother and a father. That's very impressive. No, it's very impressive, and they're watching them. But you're a 3 underneath, and you realize right away because you see them drop their mask, you see them with their mask off. Aren't we very happy today? You see them with the mask off, we're pissed off today. You get them differently. You begin to understand something right away. You don't really know why they're together. Do you know why your parents are together? Imagine what really brought them together. We can make things up. To the child who has a first line for their personality, they look at that and they think, really? The other thing is that the first gate, as a fourth gate, as a 1-3, they're sensitive to the lies of relationship. The lies, all the lies. Trees are great at smelling a lie. They know it right away. It's quite right. And so they come into the world looking for a better logical solution. And the logical solution is all about the offer. How am I going to organize the other so that I can be with them and everything is going to work out fine? And the 1-3 goes through the whole process of crashing into this problem and trying to have a logical solution. And then trying to explain it to their lover, trying to get them to go along with the logical formula. It's like these 4-gate therapists who say to you, well, we have to talk about this now. We have to discuss this. And why don't we come up with something that we can try together, where we can fix it? If we can two if the two of you talk about it this way or that way. If you're a logical person, you're already handicapped in relationships. You just are. There are a rhyme for reason. And no matter what logic does to try to figure out why there's no rhyme for reason, all you can do is develop constructs of what leads to the 17th gate and ultimately organization. In other words, if we're going to organize humanity, we better organize them this way because we got to produce kids and we want to keep them together. So let's work out a formula for the way this should be. And if everybody lives that out this way and everybody does things according to this pattern, then we're going to have relationships that are stable. It's mental. It doesn't feel. It's one of those things about these kinds of formulas. They don't feel. They don't know what it feels like. It's so interesting that the first line of the 4 is pleasure. And it's all perfect timing. It's very difficult to talk to anybody about the nature of relationships when you realize that just about everybody you talk to entered into your relationships incorrectly. So you've got everybody in a not self relationship. So not only do you have what it is essential aloneness, but you have the vast distance between the true selves. You've got these layers and layers and layers of conditioning that are exposed in the bond. After all, we're attracted to what's different, so we're attracted to what we don't have. And that's what conditions us. It keeps us telling people that everything about understanding life begins with recognizing we're in a movement and timing is place. There's a place for everything. There's a place where everything happens. And being in the right place at the right time is nothing more than an act of surrender. And regardless of what the formula is, it can never be answered. It just can be another construct. Because when it comes to duality, and we're always going to remain apart, as a matter of fact, we must. The greatest threat to the individual is the conditioning of the other. The greatest threat to awake up every morning, it's the same conditioning you meet. It's a thing that threatens your very unique authority in this life. There's nothing about duality that is rewarding. There isn't. People think there is. Isn't it the way we're conditioned? Isn't it the way we conditioned all these structures that we have? What would human beings be if a Leica didn't depend on a pair bonds to make children? What if you just could just cook them in the oven? I think basically we'll get them. You just make them in the oven. You get yourself a petri dish, you do a little mixing, you build yourself an artificial womb, you slam the juice in, and you set the thing on broil, and away you go. What do you think would happen to human relationships? What do you think will happen to all this binary business, this duality business? It will fall apart in a moment. Do you think rave children are going to be interested in binaries? That's hell. You won't even be able to communicate to a rave child unless there are at least three people in the room. They won't even relate that way. They won't think in terms of the binary. We're stuck. We're stuck with binary intelligence, our spleens and our minds. We're stuck in the duality. We know nothing about triangulation. We know nothing about this experience of being able to transcend in awareness. We're stuck with our binary mind, body, mind and body, mind and body. Why do you think we can meet? They're no meant to be. Only the genes that satisfied, and we spend the rest of our life suffering because we think we could have done better, or should do better, or made a mistake, or stuck with the consequences and moan and cry. You cannot avoid in this programming being with the other. It's obvious. You can't avoid it. I've always been connected to the other. I can't avoid it. I can remember when I could see how chaotic it was. It's so obvious to me that I have the same life. It's the same man. I see differently now. And it's some nothing. It's not my construct. I didn't create this program. I didn't create this traffic jam of forces moving with me. I didn't call for it, need it, want it. It's just there. The one tree is going to look at the standard logical formulas and it's going to see what's wrong with them and it's going to try to change them. And one of the things that this will understand or it can understand is that there's a time and place to find pleasure in all relationships, but it's never consistent. In other words, the formula says the one thing that I can predict as a pattern is that if you do end up flying in space with somebody you can see every day, in a while, you laugh, you get a laugh out of it. Every once in a while, it will be fun. Isn't that sweet? You can count on that, folks. I love black humor. It's just one of the things to see. If you have a long term relationship, if you actually count on, we know the way it works. It's true. So the first line says, hey, it's not so bad. Every third duck, you get a smile. Every third dick, you get a smile. You travel a little bit, you get some pleasure. You travel a little bit, you might pick up some more pleasure along the way. How nice. Then we go to the 1-4. Remember about the 1-4, the whole thing about the 1-4 is that whatever worked for mama and papa will work for them. Whatever didn't work for mama and papa won't work for them. They will regurgitated back out as the constitution, continuation of a social interaction system. Everybody is that family seems to aloof. It's that kind of being where it's passed down. This is the way. So whatever the 1-4 child is going to experience in terms of the way in which they see duality in their life, this is what they're really going to carry forward. And they're going to carry it forward as a formula in which they have a lot of power. They've got a 1-4. They have real strengths in grasping the foundation and influencing others with that foundation. So they're the ones that are going to be able to take, well, what I saw was what my mother and father and didn't sleep in the same bedroom. That was their solution. And so they'll become the 1-4 spokesperson for don't sleep in the same bedroom. When they get to their partner, they will insist that the work for papa and mama is going to work for me too, and they're going to influence others in that way. I'm just using that because that's one of my favorite themes. But there are many things that you can see within that concept. They will take and bring it out. And remember, the responsibility of parents of the 1-4, they're the only 2.3% of the population, or 2.6, somewhere in that neighborhood, but still many millions of people. You're talking about 100 million people, and you really have to see that those children, that their parents have this enormous responsibility to be correct, to not put on the false face, because that child will not challenge that false face. It will carry that false face forward back into the future.